I'm live. Hello, everybody. Again from Nashville. I'm back here, back at my girlfriend's place, and it is her birthday today. So if she walks in, as she might in the next few minutes, we'll all have to say happy birthday. But I'm just here enjoying my July, and I think it's a good time to open it up for some 49ers questions because it is now July 16th. That means that we are less than 2 weeks away from report day to training camp and about 2 weeks away from the July 31st start date for 49ers training camp, which means we're going to be out on the practice field back in Santa Clara, and I won't be able to spend as much time as I have been out here in Tennessee, where the weather, has gotten a lot nicer than my last visit a couple weeks ago. God, I remember we talked; it was humid uh, for a guy from California. Certainly wasn't pleasant. We went to the steeplechase, which is the big Nashville social event of the year, this horse race. But people are way more formal here as far as the way that they dress up. So I had to put on the jacket and the long pants, and it was 92 degrees and humid. I survived the day. I feel that I got a badge of honor for that. But boy, I learned something new about weather outside of the state of California, late June in the South. You definitely have to earn your stripes. So now it's a little bit more pleasant, not quite as humid here, even though we're in mid July now. And if you haven't visited out to Nashville, I would definitely recommend it. Just like Austin, where I was during a recent YouTube live, this is a booming city. Feels like a modern day kind of gold rush. Austin just was completely out of control a couple weeks ago, but Nashville is also on that same page. You have a lot of people moving out here, and it's the off-season home with some 49ers. George Kittle is out here. It's converted a whole barn, remodeled the whole thing, turned it into a workout venue where a ton of NFL tight ends are doing their thing, and there's going to be a fundraiser next week that George Kittle's doing virtual yoga with some of the other star tight ends to donate some money and really set up. They're working with Haiti, with the island country, obviously in the Caribbean. So we'll have a little bit more information about that later. But that has all originated along with Tight End U and those things here in Nashville this off season. So as far as the 49ers go, it's actually a happening spot out here. It's like the 49ers East location for the off season, and they play the Titans on December 23rd. So that will be cool. Anyway, I wanted to do a Q&A here. And as you know, I get really excited when I can put the questions up and overlay them on the screen. So I will just pick out a couple at random and start from there. Music is life. Hey, David, I know this is going to come up again, but what are your thoughts about Kyle and his comments on Stafford a couple weeks ago? Those comments seem to shock a lot of people. They didn't surprise me as much as they seem to surprise the internet. It seems to me that Twitter, especially, has this short term memory loss. At the time of the Stafford pursuit, I mean, I reported, and I think more than just, I'm not trying to take credit for anything, but many people reported, including me, that the 49ers were interested in Matt Stafford. So that means by extension that Kyle Shanahan likes Matt Stafford, right? So when Kyle Shanahan came out glowing about Matt Stafford a few days ago, it didn't surprise me at all. A lot of people thought it was some kind of gotcha moment. Oh, look, Kyle Shanahan was disappointed he didn't get Matt Stafford. I mean, we knew the 49ers were interested, just like we've known that they've been interested in basically every single quarterback option this offseason. I mean, we're interested in Deshaun Watson. They obviously did trade up to number 3 to grab Trey Lance. I can confirm that they were interested in Andy Dalton. And what a lot of people don't seem to grasp or understand is that they're interested in all these different quarterbacks at various different levels, to different degrees, and for different roles, right? So a lot of people didn't understand how the 49ers could simultaneously be interested in Andy Dalton and Matt Stafford. Well, the reason is that the 49ers were looking to deepen and better the quarterback room through multiple avenues at the same time, because you can never count on just one possible method to work. You can't put all of your eggs in one basket. You have to be simultaneously exploring all possibilities to be a competent front office. So that's why, you have an egg in the Deshaun Watson basket. You're monitoring that situation. You have an egg in the Matt Stafford basket. You monitor that situation. You have an egg in the Andy Dalton basket because one of the possibilities for the 49ers was to keep Jimmy Garoppolo and sign a veteran backup. And I think that, that might have been the leading option in the room had Andy Dalton come at last season's price. That was $3 million for the Dallas Cowboys. But instead, Andy Dalton signed for potential starter money in Chicago, which is something like $10 million a year. That's way outside the 49ers budget. And I think because the market for backup quarterbacks was really inflated this year, was more expensive than it was last season, that caused the 49ers to really lean more heavily toward the rookie option, to really focus, not only on this year, we call it the kill two birds with one stone option, but to also focus on the longer term future where Trey Lance can be a guy that they get on a rookie deal past Jimmy Garoppolo's contract, and they see that transcendent ability in Trey Lance. They see the ability to have the best of both worlds. Garoppolo this year, Lance to work under him, and then Trey Lance to take over eventually at a lower cap cost than Jimmy Garoppolo. And don't forget that Garoppolo's contract expires after 22. So the 49ers felt they could kind of dip their hands, both pools of water there. With Matt Stafford, the most important thing to do in these situations is to look at what the 49ers actually did. How did they actually behave versus what Kyle Shanahan says? Because we already knew that they were interested in Matt Stafford. How did they actually behave? Did they actually make an offer for Matt Stafford? They didn't. The 49ers didn't put in a formal offer for Matt Stafford. And if Kyle Shanahan cared that much, if it was do or die for Matt Stafford, if he was truly all in, he would have panicked that night when somebody told him that he better call about Matt Stafford right now when he was in Cabo. And he would have done something to hold it up. But instead, Kyle Shanahan kind of didn't believe that Matt Stafford could be traded that quickly. He put his phone away, and I think he was out with his wife in Cabo, and that was that. So actions speak louder than words. The words tell us, and the reports tell us that the 49ers were definitely interested in Matt Stafford. But the actions say that they were definitely way more gung-ho about trading up for Trey Lance because that was very expensive, and they actually did it. They not only put in an offer, they consummated the trade up to number 3. They didn't even put in an offer for Matt Stafford. So Shanahan can talk about Matt Stafford all he wants in retrospect, but if he doesn't even put in an offer, some of it could also be that he's pumping up a division rival before he has to play him. So that's my take on the situation. I think that multiple things can be true at once. I think the 49ers could have been and were exploring multiple quarterback upgrade options at once, whether that be with keeping Jimmy Garoppolo or deepening the room. At the end of the day, they wanted to make the room better. And it was more likely than not that Jimmy Garoppolo would be part of the room after they made it better. Of course, if they had traded for Stafford, they wouldn't have kept Garoppolo. But again, a trade for Stafford was never likely if they never offered for Stafford. So it's complex because there are as many competing avenues at once. And we just have to understand that. And we have to understand that nothing is ever black or white. We can't say, they were definitely sure about Stafford or they definitely were out on Stafford. They could have been a little interested. But we can't turn around a few months later and blow up individual Kyle Shanahan comments about the situation and act like it's definitive proof or something when he just really repeated and reinforced what we already knew about the situation. This is a funny question from Derek G. Why are fans so desperate to have a rookie with only one start in nearly 2 years play for a team that can compete for a Super Bowl? There's an irrational dislike of Jimmy Garoppolo out there amongst a large subset of the 49ers fan base. And the reason it's irrational is people play their cards or they show their cards in this situation when they want to be so polarizing about it, when they want to be so black and white about it. You can, hold two simultaneous truths at once, similar to what I just said about the Matt Stafford, Deshaun Watson, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo situation. You can believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback that makes your team better right now. And you could also believe that Trey Lance is a future Hall of Famer. There's nothing wrong with holding both of those beliefs at once. But for some reason, people want it just really simplistically packaged for them to where it's my guy or the highway, right? So you have, and this is a problem on both sides. This is a problem in the pro Jimmy Garoppolo crowd and in the anti Jimmy Garoppolo crowd. So I think the anti Jimmy Garoppolo crowd's probably a little bit more vocal on social media, and for them, it was a lot of people were Justin Fields and nobody else. Justin Fields comes in, starts day one, never Mac Jones, only Justin Fields, and then obviously as Trey Lance picked up steam, people jumped off that bandwagon and got on Trey Lance, and now you have a lot of people that are just gung ho on Trey Lance, and throw Jimmy Garoppolo off the boat. We're going to move forward with Trey Lance. And then on the other side of the equation, you have people who are big Jimmy Garoppolo fans, who, and I don't think this is quite as common because people are generally excited about Trey Lance. You have to be if you're a 49ers fan because they traded up so much for him, unless you're extremely pessimistic 49ers fan who thinks it was a terrible trade. I think it's way too premature to make a judgment one way or the other. But this other subset of fans, will just staunchly dig in and say, there's no chance anybody unseats Garoppolo. He'll fend this off like Joe Montana fended off Steve Young, and he's going to win a few Super Bowls. And I mean, the truth is we don't know. The truth is that this is unwritten right now. And the truth is that Kyle Shanahan wanted a stronger quarterback room. So now he has both guys. He has Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. So just accept that. Just accept that there's two of them. And I guarantee you that when Trey Lance demonstrates a better ability to lead the 49ers to victory than Jimmy Garoppolo, then Trey Lance will start. What's the problem with that? Why would you need the 49ers to rid themselves of Jimmy Garoppolo before that happens? Are you afraid that Trey Lance isn't better than him? Because if he is, you have nothing to worry about if you're a big Trey Lance fan. And I was the biggest advocate for Trey Lance in the pre-draft process. I thought even before the 49ers traded up to number 3, I advocated for a Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo quarterback room. At the time, I thought Lance, might slip a little bit lower in the draft, but it turns out that the 49ers trade up to number 3 probably was necessary for them to be able to grab Trey Lance. So, for a long time, it's just made sense to me. Jimmy Garoppolo, a proven veteran with injury issues, alongside Trey Lance, an unproven rookie who hasn't played in a very long time, at least in extended action, because he only played one 2020 game, and you let Lance develop behind Garoppolo and allow that immense skill set to enter that potentially transcendent phase of his career. I mean, the Chiefs did it with Patrick Mahomes, and he had way more experience playing at Texas Tech than Trey Lance did at North Dakota State. So I think you absolutely can have both. I think that Shanahan and Lynch charted it out to have both. And now Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance are both on the team. So I'm not sure why people are so desperate to have one of those guys off. I think, or even the flip side, because I want to keep this balance, I'm not so sure why people are so desperate to staunchly defend Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that you could look at the team and the quarterback room just like you look at any other position group, where you want to have more good players. And having more good players gives you option power, both, through competition and training camp and at practice, and also on the potential trade market to go further down the line. And that probably won't happen until 2022. But if Garoppolo plays really well in 2021 and Lance develops really well during practice, and all of a sudden you have a great problem. 49ers can trade Garoppolo. They can recoup some value. Or, hey, maybe this does turn into a Tom Brady-like situation in New England where Brady responded when Garoppolo was drafted by turning around and winning a Super Bowl there. And, that obviously extended Tom Brady's tenure in New England. You can't script the future, but you can insulate yourself and give yourself the best possible chance to succeed in the future by supplying your football team and your roster with as many quality options as possible at the most important position in the sport. And that's exactly what the 49ers have done at quarterback now. And that's exactly what Bill Walsh did at quarterback in the 1980s when he brought Steve Young in and Joe Montana was already on the team. If even Joe Montana and Tom Brady are not immune to a hotshot youngster coming in, then obviously Jimmy Garoppolo, who is not Tom Brady or Joe Montana is not going to be immune to it. But it doesn't mean anything until it means something. And right now, all it actually firmly means, if you don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, is that the 49ers have option power and they can see what they have in Trey Lance. And I'll tell you what, they think they have something really special by trading all that to get him. But they're not, they're not backed up against the corner, which I think is a great spot to be because that gives them the option power in many regards, including on the potential trade market come 2022, probably. So that's a good question. That's my best answer to it. It's obviously really nuanced. And the problem with nuanced questions and nuanced answers is people seem to find them incompatible with their desire for really simple answers and simple questions. And simple doesn't work in a complex situation. This is the root of the problem. I feel you can't disagree with anyone anymore, especially on Twitter. It's okay to have different opinions. It is okay to have different opinions. And what's not okay, and what seems to happen a lot on social media, is people will intentionally misrepresent your stance because you only have the 240 characters or whatever to convey your stance. So it's hard sometimes to get the necessary nuance, and people will just jump on you if you don't get that nuance in there, if that makes any sense. And it leads to a dumbing down of arguments that really isn't good for anything. And it creates disagreements when maybe there aren't even disagreements, right? Because sometimes the nuanced position, like this quarterback situation or however Shanahan is handling something, it's the nuanced position that's correct, and it's really hard to argue with. But when you have fewer characters and when stuff is more rapid fire and when people are just looking at one gotcha kind of sentence, then it's harder for them to process that nuance that, makes you correct in that situation. And they start an argument with it, right? Like, you said that Garoppolo is going to be around until 2023. And it's like, no, I didn't say he's going to be around until 2023. I said that option is still on the table for the 49ers. They haven't taken anything off the table yet. But don't oversimplify what I said just to create, either make somebody look stupid or to create that's what we call straw man back and forth. They create a straw man to argue with. You see that on Twitter all the time. So, it's just something that it's unfortunate. The best we can do, though, you can't just escape and flee Twitter because, everybody's talking about sports on there. So we're trying to add some rational discourse to it. That's one reason why I started the YouTube channel, because I feel that I could expand on my thoughts in a more intelligent way here than on social media. And I really hope that everybody signs up for The Athletic. The Athletic is doing well. More and more of you are on there. We're well over 1 million subscribers now. And if you're a big time sports fan and you really want to get into the intricate, nuanced, non 240 character stuff, or we go into these options where we're not taking one side or the other, I think that's where The Athletic comes in. So hopefully this all kind of ties together. This is the thing. It's the 25 million that can be opened up. Absolutely. That is a lot of money. You also open up money in every subsequent season, including 22, that Jimmy Garoppolo's under contract. Margot's back. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So with the $25 million this season, the 49ers have calculated that they don't need it and they don't have anybody to spend it on this season that would justify weakening the quarterback room. So look at the market right now. Who's available? Melvin Ingram. Will he make more than the veteran salary exception? Maybe. Will the 49ers have enough to sign him, even if it is more than the veteran salary exception? Maybe not. It's going to be really close, but they can free up the money to sign Melvin Ingram or any other veteran free agent they might need in that situation in a number of different ways. They could restructure Eric Armstead's contract. They could restructure Jimmy Ward's contract. They don't necessarily need that $25 million this season because there are no $25 million free agents just sitting there waiting to be signed. You're not in March anymore. You're later in the offseason, where I don't want to say that you're just picking up scraps because there's still some quality players out there, but you're definitely not signing anybody to $20 million per year. So the 49ers have budgeted to keep both Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance on the roster and still be able to finish the rest of their needed moves this offseason. I think that's key to note. They have budgeted for this, and then next season they'll devise a new budget in 2022. And guess what? The cap is going to skyrocket in 2023, not in 2022. Next year, things get a lot tighter. So next year, I think you could really stand to benefit more from the 25 million or so of savings that trading Jimmy Garoppolo would entail, and you'll get potentially more draft capital back in return for him in 2022 because Garoppolo's coming off an injured 2020 season. So his trade value is not nearly as high as it might be if he delivers a good 2021 season. And that's not to mention the fact that you're weakening the quarterback room at the expense of a rookie who was playing FCS ball not that long ago, who missed all but one game of the 2020 season because North Dakota State didn't play a fall season. So there's a reaction to every action, right? Every trade, every release, every move, every transaction is going to come with an opportunity cost. And the opportunity cost of the $25 million that you could save with Jimmy Garoppolo in 2021 by not having on the roster is significantly weakening the quarterback room and opening yourself up to a massive wild card in Trey Lance. You can't pretend and act like he's a slam dunk day one Pro Bowler. The 49ers hope he develops into that, but they're just not sure yet. And it's worth the $25 million to them, especially since they budgeted for it, to have the options moving forward. It's as simple as that. So, I think it's overblown to say that $25 million would go a long way in this season. It just wouldn't. Now, next season it might, and that's why Jimmy Garoppolo's spot on the roster in 2022 is much less certain than it is in 2021. So the 49ers are taking this year by year, and that's fine. That's been the plan all along. And as of right now, the pros of keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around heavily outweigh the cons. By 2022, that might flip, but we're not there yet. So why don't we just wait to make that judgment? And we'll do that in 2022. Yes, and I get it. The unspent money does roll over to next year, and the 49ers can extend Fred Warner. I've done massive breakdowns on all of this stuff. I've done 2022 salary cap breakdowns, looking ahead to 2023. I've done a breakdown of Fred Warner's potential contract. All of this stuff the 49ers can fit into their budget with Garoppolo on the team in 2021. I do it on spreadsheets and everything. I'll even link it here in just a second. The question becomes, can they do all of that and still keep Garoppolo on the budget in 2022? That's where it gets more difficult, and that's why I'm not sure what they're going to do next year. But in 2021, it fits. It just does. Like, I've run the numbers 10 times. And the 49ers have too, and it fits. The restructure candidates are Eric Armstead and Jimmy Ward. Even Laken Tomlinson might be extended, although I'm not sure if the 49ers want to do that since they drafted 2 guards. But even that can free up cap space this season. So Garoppolo's presence on the books right now is not prohibiting the 49ers from doing something that they might want to do. And that carryover money, they could still fit the stuff they need to do. Now, the cap explodes in 2023, and is anticipated to explode in 2023. And that's a huge component of all this, because if the 49ers can build that bridge until 2023, which I think they believe they can do, even with the Garoppolo, maybe even on the roster in 2022, although that's way more iffy. But if they can get to 2022, I think they see light at the end of the tunnel. Cap goes up, new TV deal hits, and then you're home free. The Lance hope is that he takes over for Jimmy at some point. You don't need to have Jimmy on the roster anymore. And then you have plenty of money, especially coupled with the 2023 cap increase, to pay Nick Bosa, to pay everybody that needs to be paid those massive dollars. And then once Lance is up for a re-up, this is all theoretical, in 2026 or whenever that happens, maybe 2025, actually. Yeah, I think it'll be 2025. If he's up for a re-up in that year, at that point, you hope that you're riding green fields with the sun on your face. If I'm gonna quote Gladiator, at that point, you really hope that the cap has skyrocketed and you are in free open field for the 49ers. So they're just trying to make it to 2023 And I can assure you they think they can do it with Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster in 2021. A couple more. Will Shanahan be on the hot seat if the 49ers have another losing season due to injuries? Kyle Shanahan took the 49ers to the NFC title game in year 3, and they were within 7 minutes of winning the Super Bowl in year 3. Then year 4 was really weird, and they went 6-10. If they have another losing season and it's not due to injuries, you have to win in the NFL, then yes, I get it. I think that some kind of clock will be ticking. The injury issue is so tricky. Is it Shanahan's fault? Is it the training staff's fault? Is it bad luck? I mean, part of the reason that the 49ers have been so hurt, yes, is because they, I think, tried to go after value players in free agency and in the draft where, the guys had prior injury history and they got hurt again. But if you actually do a study of these things, and the 49ers have, and they've also fired the training staff and inserted a new one, a lot of this is horrendous luck. And you have to expect that at some point, some of this will balance out, especially since the 49ers made it a point this past season to go after more durable players than they had in the past. So, that's such a huge qualifier that you put there in all caps, due to injuries. If anything happens due to injuries, I think you have to put a little bit of an asterisk and see why the injuries happen. And, the head coach's head is much less likely to roll if failures are due to injuries. It's just, it's such a nuanced topic that it's hard to say, oh, hey, fire everybody because people got hurt. That would be foolish, because then you'll just bring somebody else in and the injuries will continue. That's exactly what happened to the 49ers after Harbaugh left. They've had injury problems since that 2014 season, and they've been through 4 coaches since that 2014 season. So it hasn't only been a Shanahan issue. You could say that it's, the Levi's Stadium curse or the candlestick curse, but the fact of the matter is that the 49ers are the second most injured team in football ever since 2014. And that's a problem that goes beyond Shanahan. Now, in the larger picture, I think it is important for the 49ers to put together a winning season this year. I don't think Shanahan would get fired if they don't put in a winning season, but it would certainly get the clock ticking, because in the NFL, yes, you do have to win. You have to do it consistently. The 49ers built in 2017. They built in 2018. They put a great product on the field in 2019. And you kind of consider 2020 a wash because of the empty stadiums and then obviously the record amount of injuries to the 49ers. So it's like whatever. But in 2021, you want to see that trend really moving forward for the 49ers. So why don't we reevaluate this question after the season? As of right now, it looks like the 49ers have built a nice roster. They've done a good job beefing up the quarterback room, and we'll see where that takes them in the coming season. All right, one more question. Looking through this, I'm getting tired, so I'm looking forward to getting some lunch. Yeah, we're going to talk about the running backs. Kevin Kistner asks, how do you think the Raheem Mostert versus Trey Sermon battle shakes out in camp? I don't think it's going to be as much of a battle as it is an establishment of the pecking order. And the pecking order is not a parallel one. Kyle Shanahan wants different running backs to execute different roles. So in the case of Raheem Mostert and Trey Sermon, I think you could look at it like Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman in 2019. Tevin Coleman softened defenses on first down. He got most of the technical starts as a result. Raheem Mostert was a big-time second down and third down runner, and he gashed through defenses. After Coleman punched them early on, it was Raheem Mostert that would really glide through defenses with his speed. Sermon has some physicality to him. He has some real burst to him, kind of like Tevin Coleman did as well. I like him on those early downs, and I think that's what we'll see. I think we'll see Sermon soften those defenses up a little bit, take the workload off of Raheem Mostert, who I don't think is a 20-carry-a-game guy. I think you want Mostert for 10 to 15, excuse me, and then you go from there. Anyway, my voice is tired. It's been a long week, a lot of news to cover. So we'll talk to you guys all next time. Thanks for asking all your questions. Again, subscribe and join me on Twitter and on The Athletic. So thanks again, and everybody have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next time.